Hello, it's Crafty Carol here with another video for you, and this time it's making a column card which looks like that. So when you stand it up, this column bit sticks out the front and you've got a piece at the front that just sits sort of over the edge there. You can sort of see that there, but it does fold flat for posting, which makes it easy. And then when they get it out to display it, it looks really good. So this one I did actually for Valentine's Day, as you can see, for husband. So he doesn't know about it yet. But I'm going to show you one. This blog hop today is all about flowers. So the one we're going to make is going to actually have some flowers on it. But just to show that you can make this for literally any occasion. Okay, so the bits you need quite a few little bits for this. Plus, let me just get another little bit out because I do need a little bit more. So another scrap there. You need a couple of scraps for the sentiment. This fits the sentiment I'm using, which is 1 by 2. But you need some scraps, and I'll show you about those in a minute. So the pieces you need: your cardstock. You're going to cut your A4 cardstock in half. So this is 10.5 by 29.6, scored at 14.8. If you're working with US cardstock, you want a piece 11 by 4¼ inches, scored at 5.5. So that is your base card. Then you have a piece for your column, and that is literally more or less half your base card. So that is 4.5 inches by 6 inches if you're working with US cardstock. If you're working, as I do, in centimetres, then it is 10.5 by 14, I think it is, yeah, 10.5 by 14. Oh, I have got it written down there. Anyway, 10.5 by 14, that is the bit to make your column. Then you have a bit, now this can either be in my case I'm using cardstock because I'm going to emboss it, but you could use DSP, which is what I've done in this original card. Oops, can't pick it up. Here, and it's one piece that you're just going to cut in half, and that piece is the normal second layer, which is 10 centimetres by 14.3 centimetres. If you're working with US cardstock, 4 inches by 5.25. Then you have these bits are just the bits I need for the decoration on it. So I'm cutting a centre and I get these here. I'm cutting this flower centre and this frame from these lovely Forever Floral dies. To save time, I have actually done that already, which is here. So those are my bits already cut. But the bit you need to cut those out, if you're using the same one, is 7 by 14 centimetres or 3 inches by 5.5 inches. And then this bit is for more embossing for the column sides. Again, if you're using embossed cardstock, this is what you want, these two pieces for embossing. And if you don't want to emboss, then this would be DSP as well. And this piece is 10 by 10.5 centimetres, because we're going to cut it into 4. Or if you're working in inches, it is 4 by 4¼ inches, and that's to provide the decoration. So this piece and your other piece for the front, these can be DSP, which is what I've done here. I've used DSP. I have actually stuck the DSP on here as well because I don't like to see bare bits, but you don't have to do those. You could just do 2 for the front, totally up to you. But I'm going to emboss. So the first thing I'm going to do is go and emboss these pieces before I forget which pieces are which. And I'm actually using one of the basics, the set of 3 basics embossing folders. I'm not sure if they are still available, but anything with a flower pattern or whatever pattern you want to match with your card, then that's what you should use. So I'm just going to go and do that, and by the magic of videos, I'll be back in very, very quickly. There, I'm back, and I've got my 2 pieces. Now these, as I said, you could do these from DSP, so choose what you want to do yourself. For me, I've just embossed these. So those are your 2 for the patterns for the card. So let us get on and put some bits together. So first of all, the cardstock. Now, I attended the virtual writing retreat that Stampin' Up run. I wasn't sure about it, but I did attend it. And to be honest, it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And one of the people on it showed me a great way to fold your cardstock and not worry about getting your lines stuck. So I'm giving you this little tip. I'll probably put this as a separate tip somewhere on YouTube as well. But if you butt it up to the top of your, if you butt up your base cardstock to the top of your trimmer, and then fold the other bit and push that up as well, then you have your exact, where is my phone folder? Completely vanished. Got a new one somewhere, I don't know where it is. I have to use my horrible old one, but there we go. And then you know that these are exactly aligned. Can you see that? Absolutely exactly aligned. Great tip that, I shall use that always in future. So it'll be on my future videos as well. So there's our first base. Now for the column, I don't know why I've put this away because I need it again. For the column piece, which is this piece, which is nearly the same depth as your base front, but just a little bit shorter, you're going to score that. Now, for our UK measurements, I'll try and give you both at the same time. I'm going to start the first one at 1 centimetre. So to make sure this is nice and straight, because this absolutely important that this is bang on straight, otherwise it won't form the column and lie flat nicely. So you want to have it properly jutted up there. So for the 1, I'm actually going onto this right hand side to line it up and then to score it. If you're working in US cardstock, you score at 1/2 inch for the first one. Then I'm going to turn it round so my next one's in the right place, and I'm going to score it every 3 centimetres from there. So we're starting at 4. So again, making sure it's well jutted up. In inches, that's 1 3/4. 7 centimetres, or in inches, it's 3. I'm trying to do both measurements at once. This is very difficult. So 10, another 3 for me, or 4 1/4 for inches. And finally 13, or in inches, that is 5 1/2. So the piece that you're left with there should look like that, with the tiny bits at each end and my 4 columns in the middle. And the tiny bits at each end are so that we can stick it to the base cardstock. Now, put it away again, and I still need it. Very, very important this. You want to make sure that when you're putting your column in the centre, it is actually in the centre. So I know that the length of my card front is 14.8. So I need to, halfway is 7.4. So I'm going to actually mark this so that I know. So I'm going to put the edge of my cardstock there at 7.4, fold it over, and then use a pencil just to draw a little line down the middle. Don't need to worry about it because you're going to be covering that up, but it gives you a mark for when we're actually putting the columns on the card. So I absolutely recommend doing that. If you are working in US cardstock, then it is 4 1/4, so it's 2 1/8 you'd need to mark it at. Okay. Right, let's do some folding and bending. So the first one, we're going to fold outwards, sort of up like that, because this is going to be, and you want to give it a really, really good burnish. And when you're folding, just make sure it's exactly parallel each side. Then the next one, we're going to fold the other way. So it's going to go across like that. Again, make sure it's absolutely parallel. It really is important to get these folds straight so that the card will then sit straight when you're putting it onto the base, and when you're folding it to put in an envelope, it needs to fold absolutely flat. So do take time and make sure that these folds, when you're folding them, that the card is exactly lined up at each side. And then finally, this last one is folded back again. So you will end up with a piece that looks like that. Because when we bring those 2 sides in, you can see that this is how we're going to be putting it onto here. Now, up to you whether you want to decorate this before you put it on here or after. You can't decorate the back until you put this on, because otherwise these show. If you don't mind those showing, fine, no problem. You could actually stick this piece on anyway, wouldn't be a problem, but I want to just cover it up a little bit and not have that showing, so I'm going to do it slightly differently. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut my little strips for this. So if you wanted to do this in DSP, you could do it in different sorts of DSP. Each strip needs to be 4 centimetres. It needs to be 10 centimetres by 2.6 centimetres. If you're working in inches, it needs to be 1 1/8 inches, by 4 1/4. So I'm just going to cut those next. Oh, I can't think in inches as well. Just checking I'm cutting the right way because I want them lengthwise. That's right. So I'm going to cut them at 2.6, which is using the marks on the side. So again, I know it's, whoops, I don't want to score it. I want to cut it straight. Now I want 4 of those. Now these are all exactly the same, so it doesn't matter about patterns or whatever. You could use 2 different sorts of DSP or even 4 different sorts of DSP if you wanted. And that should line up, 2.6. I think I cut this at 10.5, so might need to just take a little sliver off this one just to make sure it is 2.6. I'll take just that little sliver off that one. Up to you. You don't need to. Right, so those are my 4 pieces for decorating my column. So I can stick those on before I stick my column down, which I have to say, having made it the other way, it is a lot easier than to try and stick it on. You can, it's not a problem, but I want to do it to make sure it's stuck on. Right, so that's my columns decorated. So now I need to stick it on. So I need to put my tape down the outside of these 2 pieces. So I'm going to use my tear and tape for this, because I really want this to stick down properly. So I'm just putting a little strip of tear and tape along each of these. My tear and tape seems to have gone a little bit brown. It's been sitting in the sun and I think it's got a little bit sundown. Given we haven't had any sun, I don't know. But anyway, there we go. Right, so to put it on the card, first of all, I'm going to take the top off the tape there and off this one because I'm brave. Could do one at a time if you wanted. I mean, I'm sticking it down one at a time, but... And then to stick it on, and this isn't a directional pattern, so I don't need to worry about which side is which. I'm going to fold the strip with the tape back, and then I can line it up properly. That fold lines up with my line like that, and then I can press it down. So that's now properly stuck down. So I need to stick the other side down. So again, making sure that I've folded my flap back on itself. I'm now going to fold it at this second fold so that my 2 front panels are facing forwards, and press it down. And then that sticks it together nicely, so you don't need to worry. Okay, so I hope that makes some sense. Then for this panel, this is my embossed panel, or you could use, as I said, a sheet of DSP. We're just going to cut this in half. So if you remember, this piece was 14, so I'm going to cut it at 7. Makes it really simple. What was the inches? 4 by 5 and a quarter. So you're cutting it at 2.5, 2 5/8 if you're working in inches. So that gives me now my pieces that are going to go in here. And as you can see, the inside bit will jut up just about right to the column, which is exactly what we want. So I'm going to stick those on now. There. So there is the card, and you can see that just covers up the flap from here. You can just see this little tiny bit at the top and the bottom. I'm not going to be too worried about that, to be honest. Okay, let's get on with the decoration. So as I said, I have die cut already my frame, which is going to stick on the front here. But how are we going to stick it on, you ask? That is one of the reasons you need some little bits of scrap. So I'm just going to cut a couple of those. I don't need to use scissors, I can use my I'll use this trimmer. So you just want some scraps. This is about 4 centimetres or 1.5 inches, and you want to cut it in half at 3/4 of an inch, or at score it in half. So they don't need to be very big. I'll probably do mine about 2 centimetres wide. It's up to you how wide you do these. So you want 2 little scraps like that. And as I said, I am going to just, there we go, score them in half. So mine is 4 centimetres, so I'm scoring them at 2. And this one as well, at 2. There we go. And these are going to form our little mechanism for the back. Now, I said that I had actually hidden these, and one of the reasons for not sticking these 2 front pieces on is that you can actually hide this mechanism as well. So I'm going to stick these on it. It doesn't need to be exactly in the middle. They just need to be as near as we can manage it, roughly in the middle. It just needs to hide this. So I'm going to stick these on. Again, I'm going to have to use this stuff because my glue has vanished. Run out just when I didn't need it to. So we'll have one side just next to the, wherever you want it really, but just next to the centre there. And same with this other one. Just next to the centre here. And they need to fold back like that because we're going to stick this piece on the front there. But before I do that, I'm going to stick these back on. I'm going to put a little bit more tape on to make sure they do stick now. And that actually will cover up. Ooh, get it right up and down as well. There we go. It'll cover up those tabs. So definitely do it this way. Don't do it the way I did it originally and put this on first. I thought I was being clever. But it's certainly easier to put if you're putting DSP on the back pieces, do put those on before you stick it to the card, because yeah, that does make it definitely a bit easier. I'm quite glad my glue's run out so that I could actually use this tape stuff. It's good. Right, so there is our card. We'll put all this together now. So I've got to do some stamping. I'm just going to stamp this in Memento. This is my sentiment. You can use any sentiment you want. I'm using Love You from the retreat set that we got with the virtual retreat. So I'm just going to stamp that on my scrap. Whether I'm going to leave it like that or cut it, I might just cut it out. Come to think of it. Decide as I go along. And then these, I've just got some little tiny punched flowers here, and these again are left over from the retreat set, so I thought I might as well use those as well. So we've got those little flowers, and then we've got this die cut piece. So you could use any floral image in the middle, but this is, as I said, this is what I'm using. So we're going to do some colouring. And I'm going to start off with colouring some leaves. So I'm going to start off with my dark. I'm using Old Olive. And I'm just going to sort of colour half the leaf in the dark, just to give a little bit of idea of depth. So now I'm going to use my light. I'm going to go in with the brush end actually. Now for the flowers, you can colour those as well, and I actually got my peach pie out because I quite liked. Actually, before I do that, I might stick this onto my piece, and then, because I might go through it and actually put the centres on. Yeah, I might actually. So it doesn't matter quite where this goes. I'm not going, I do need some glue, so let's just hope there's enough in here. just for some little dabs. Oh, there's just, hopefully, come on, get some dabs out. So I'm just putting some dabs around the actual flowers, not on the leaves, because I want them to sort of blow in the wind. Come on, there must be enough just to do a final dab there. Ugh. How annoying. Is there any in this one? Let's see, this is the old one I just swapped over, so really, 2 old ones around at the same time isn't good, is it? One's definitely empty, that one can go. Right, so I'm just going to pop that on here. So you can see there that my leaves are still popping up. It's got a little bit of, I'm just going to encourage a little bit of movement in the leaves. Don't want to stick this on with dimensionals because we've already got dimension on the card with the column in the center. So now if I just do a little dot there, it'll just show through. That's better. There. So this is now, just move the flowers over there a minute. I'm going to stick this to the center here. So again, I'll use some of my tape. So I'm just going to put glue across these 2 tabs and then place this. I want to make sure I'm lined up with points of my, now it depends if I want my sentiment at the bottom or not. No, I'm going to have it on the side. So if I put this right in the center, I'm lining up the points of my frame with the center score line of the column. So there we have it. And now this I will definitely cut. I don't like it like that. So I'm just going to do the outline cut. So it just means I'm fussy cutting, vaguely following the outline of the of the script. There we go, and I'm going to pop that on with a couple of little mini dimensionals. Now, when I'm putting this on, I want to make sure that I'm not going to get it too much in the way when this is closed. So I'm going to have it down here. It does just fit, which is nice. If you wanted, you could do your sentiment across here, but you'd need 2 more little tabs to hold it on here. If you used a little bar sentiment, you could do that. So I'm going to stick my love you down there, just like that. And then I've got to decide whether I want, I'm not sure I do want to use these now. I would also, where is it? Just want to do a little bit of shaping of them. So push them down into my hand. I might do these. You could use gems. If you preferred to use gems, have some gems. On the other one I did, I bring that in so you can see it. Then what I did was I actually used from the Endless Love set, I actually used some die cuts. So you can decorate the rest of this however you want, really. Totally up to you. But I did think about gems. I've actually got my gems out here. I might use some of those as well because, you know, can you ever have too much bling? I don't know. So I just then need to decide where I'm going to put these. I just thought I might as well use them because they were spare after my set. So I think we'll just have those, perhaps a couple up here and 3 over here. Yeah, something like that. So just see if I've got enough little dobs in here to do that. Actually, I might just use some of these as well. Why don't we have a little centre in each of those? I quite like the idea of that. See if these are too big or not. Peach or yellow? That's what the peach looks like. Yeah, I think we'll go tone on tone. I know I spent all the time putting dots in and now I'm putting gems in instead. Well, that's okay. Totally up to you what you want to do with these. if you want to use gems or what you want to use. Totally up to you. But there we go. So two very different, let's get rid of my colour paper. Two very different cards made in exactly the same way, a centre column card. Thanks to Sue Stampfield for the idea. The centimetre measurements are all my own because I don't like to make cards that are American sizes. So this one for the inside, I used a layer. I actually cut my second layer the wrong size, but I used it anyway. So that's my Valentine's card. For this one, I just put love you on the front. You can do then whatever you like inside. I haven't actually done anything inside, but as I said, they fold flat, beautifully flat for posting, which is great. So when they're flat for posting, as you can see, there's not too much bulk, but that's why I didn't put any dimensionals on this piece. I really don't want any more dimension on the front because it will add to the postage otherwise. So I hope you like these cards, and all of the instructions and measurements are in the blog. So if you got confused, as I did, with giving all the measurements in this video, then do just go to the blog to see them. Thank you for joining me today, and I will see you again soon. Oh, where is the blog? I better tell you, it is craftycarolscards.co.uk. And see you soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye for now.